Jim, I wanted to point out, and I actually stopped asking people for reviews on this show. I did it for a little while, and I would say, hey, please leave a comment. Please leave a star rating, a review. Because for whatever reason, they don't do it. But if you go back to, there were 2 reviews that shot out right after the first episode.
Really?
Very first episode with me and you.
Uh-huh.
First one, interesting podcast, 5 stars. I stumbled across this podcast on accident, and I'm glad I did. It was an interesting and funny glimpse into a conversation between 2 friends.
Oh.
August 2023.
Fine, Jim.
Let's talk about you.
Wow.
Not the
That's
second
nice.
second one, 4 stars. This is why my rating is 4.8 and not a solid 5. This guy writes,
Oh, my God.
amazing and entertaining, hoping for good things to come. 4, not 5. Oh,
Thanks, man.
to the
I
end of
appreciate
time,
your
I'll be
honesty.
wondering there's something to be said there, but it's left for me to figure out.
Are these anonymous, or do you know who wrote them?
Now, their names are on there, and I do tell people that, you can leave a comment, but if you want to rate a show, you don't have to submit your name. It's not going to show up. All you got to do is just tap. Just go down. Everybody knows where it is. Well, at least on Apple Podcasts. I think Spotify is different. But you just tap that 5th star. That's all you do.
But how neat that these guys would just stumble upon this brand new podcast, the way everything's, algorithms work so hard to, only give you certain things. It's interesting.
I was pretty surprised. It was like the second week, maybe the next week after the very first episode. I thought, wow.
Yeah, that's neat.
Already connecting with people.
Very neat. Now, why don't any of you other lazy sons of guns get out there and write down some nice reviews like these 2 gentlemen did? Stop sitting on your hands and start using those hands to type some 5-star reviews for Dan time. Dadgummit.
Well, so there's 2 comments and 6 ratings.
Ooh. Love that. I think I did that. I think I gave you one of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of time here to chew the fat, chew the potato, but I got a few extra questions.
Okay.
I'm just
going
gonna.
to.
All right, so this is no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this guy's name, and you tell me what your impression is, how you feel about him.
Okay.
And we may have talked about this before. Sammy Sosa.
I still love him. I think he's made some poor decisions post-baseball, and I don't really give a crap if he was taking steroids because everybody else was. And he should definitely be in the Cubs Ring of Honor if they have one or whatever the heck that is. So I'm glad that they're finally letting him come back.
Yeah, you saw where he posted a statement.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tom Ricketts came out with a reply.
Yeah.
No one played harder or wanted to win more. Nobody's perfect, but we never doubted his passion for the game or the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
It is an understatement to say that Sammy is a fan favorite. We plan on inviting him to the 2025 Cubs convention, which is, I think it's January.
Mm-hmm.
While it is short notice, we hope that he can attend.
I think he should. I mean, I'm happy to hear that. Tom Ricketts is a dirtbag, but it's good that he's being cool about Sammy.
I think Sammy, he made some mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys did back then. But I think we're at a place now, about 20 years later, where a lot of baseball fans, if a fan sees some separation between, all right, this guy doesn't have to be a full-throated apology, but it's acknowledging I could have made better decisions. Sorry, I had to burp.
Pause for effect. I love it.
Here's a specific area where I went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but I loved playing for the Rangers, or I loved playing for the Yankees or the Cubs. And that's where my heart was. And then it kind of reflects back to that fan's memory of the player, like Sammy saying, I love Chicago, love
Mm-hmm.
my relationship with the bleacher bums.
Mm-hmm.
It meant everything to me to play, to wear the Cubs pinstripes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes a long way.
It does. Yeah. I
You feel like
mean,
their heart's in the right place. I've always loved Sammy Sosa.
oh yeah, he's great, man.
And then it connects back to the
100%.
memories that you had if you were, a certain age back then in the mid 90s or that 1998 home run
Oh yeah,
chase.
the chase, man. It was awesome. I mean, I remember working at this pet food store, and literally we would turn on. They would broadcast both their games. They would the major networks. So I can't remember who, ABC, Fox, NBC. So I can remember being in there on like a Friday or a Thursday afternoon, and them cutting in almost like a president's been assassinated or we landed on the moon or whatever.
Yeah.
To McGuire and Sosa's games to see them. And I think I remember like back and forth or something. Like, did Sosa break it, and then like an hour later McGuire broke Sosa's record or something like that. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
they were kind of going back and forth when they were in the 60s. Somebody would hit their 64th, somebody hit their 65th. I
Mm-hmm.
think Sammy may have wound up with like 66 home runs,
Mm-hmm.
and then McGuire, whatever that was, 72. But yeah,
It shows you a whole lot about how dumb baseball was back then. So basically, it's self sabotage. I mean, it was at its height of popularity. It was 100% bigger than the NFL, and because all these old fuddy duddies and writers and people got so upset about steroids, and yes, that's cheating, but my God, man, if you had just handled it any other way than ostracizing these guys and basically taking all the fun out of baseball. Baseball had become, it changed with the times. It had become more of an offensive league, and I know you still love it and watch it, but as somebody who kind of stopped watching in the early 2000s after all that happened because it got so boring, man. Baseball just handled it so terribly that they'll never recover and they'll forever be, I don't know, some people would argue the number 3 major sport in the country. And they're certainly never going to be number 1 again when they had that in their grasp with the home run chase and all those guys hitting long balls. I mean, but
well,
easy for me to say.
I mean, when the commissioner's office for a long time isn't making it a priority to drug test, and players kind of know that, well, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'm also unlikely to get tested or caught.
Yeah.
Some guys stay clean, and more power to them. And I some of my favorite players are the ones that I know didn't use performing enhancing
Hmm.
drugs. Mark Grace, I'm sure he saw that stuff, and just maybe some of them thought, I don't like needles. I don't like needles,
Yes.
and that's enough for me to
Yeah.
not
Sure.
do it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I think you got to look where you place blame. But Rickey Henderson,
Oh,
remember watching Rickey
but,
Henderson in those Oakland A's World Series, the A's and the Giants, or
hmm
A's and the Reds?
yeah. Ricky was the best, man. Was my favorite player back then. Still have all my baseball cards, of him that I would never give away that are worth nothing except that they remind me of, cherished childhood memories. And man, he was the best. And I feel like the legend of Ricky Henderson really only grew and continues to grow. I mean, the guy was just a great quote and apparently was a little full of himself, but was one of the few people that could be full of himself because, his play warranted it. He was just awesome. And I hate that he passed away. Did they ever say what happened? It was like a pneumonia or something, or
I think so.
it's
Not
terrible,
not
man.
entirely sure, but yeah, 68, something like 65.
Yeah, I mean, it's a young man, a young guy. Especially, it's hard with us getting old, man. These guys that seemed invincible, not only getting old, also but dying. It's tough to see because
Yeah.
my gosh, Rickey Henderson was an all-timer.
One thing that I found, it just made me smile. Um, I found out when I was reading about his passing was people forget. Some people know that he played a long time. He continued to play as long as he could sign with somebody. But the last
Hmm.
year he played like in Newark, New Jersey, independent league. He's 43 years old. He's close to our age,
Yeah,
and he's actually the apartment that he's renting in New York cost him more than what that team was paying him each month. So he was paying money to play baseball,
to play baseball, that's great.
and
I love it.
and it's somewhere like I forget which story I read said that he actually never officially retired. The phone stopped ringing, but he
Mm.
didn't just come to a point and say, "All right,
He was,
that's it. It's been a great career. I'm out. I'm done." He was always willing to play.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's awesome. I've never heard that about the apartment in him. That's a great story.
in the
And he
head
played in 4 decades. So,
that story I actually heard. I want to plug the Book of Joe podcast. They don't need it from me, but I think anybody that loves baseball would really enjoy listening to that. It's Tom Verducci and Joe Madden.
oh, that's a good couple guys right there.
I think that's where I heard about the that last season that he played. But really, the head first sliding all those years. Just imagine how
Hmm.
banged up you'd be every day and still
Yeah,
getting in the lineup.
yeah, he's awesome. R.I.P. Ricky.
This is kind of supposed to be a lightning round, but I've never been very good at it. Here's another one. It's not a baseball player, but tell me what you think when I say this name. Modest Mouse.
Honest Mouse. I mean, they're a great band. I love them. I especially love, the what is it, the Moon, Antarctica, and everything else, or whatever that album is.
Yeah.
But I haven't really followed them since then. But yeah, I love them. Last band I saw live, and it'll probably be the last band I ever see live, unless it ever makes me go see stuff later on in her life.
Now that what is it about that live music? You don't enjoy it like you used to?
No, and I was never a huge fan to begin with of live music, because I guess I enjoy the CD experience. I want to hear what I want to hear when I want to hear it, and I can't just expect the band to play the songs you want to hear. And unless you know a band's whole catalog, they play a lot of new stuff that you don't know, and makes me think of the Simpsons episode where somebody shows up in Springfield and Homer goes and he's all excited and they start playing. They're like, "Hey, we're REO Speedwagon. We're going to get to your old hits, but first some stuff from our new album." And Homer's like, "New stuff, play Working Overtime." So they start playing Working Overtime and he's like, "Get to the Working Over." No, he says, oh shoot. No, he says, play Taking Care of Business. So they start playing Taking Care of Business. And he says, "Get to the Working Overtime part." So they skip to the part in the thing about working overtime. So anyway, I just feel like that. Like I don't know. I don't have it. There's not any bands that I have a deep enough love of their catalog that I can know every song that they play. So it's kind of boring when I don't.
I could see that. I know what you mean about listening to the recorded music, driving around, and you've got your connection and how that makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you go see a band live, it's like, I actually kind of like you guys in the car better than this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the experience has changed. If you're our age, you remember going to see a show in 1999 or 2002 or something, and this feels a little more domesticated. You're kind of like, you got your phone in your hand, the guy next to you got his phone in his hand, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit of a distraction, I think, for me, where you see all these devices. It's like it used to just be people's heads, so you're not really going to look at anybody's heads. It's like you're just going to look straight to the stage and the performance.
Yeah.
And we can't put this genie back in the bottle. So now you're like looking at all these iPhones and Androids and the people that are filming the entire song, and some people are getting their 10-second clip. Like, I mean, I get those. I get 1 or 2 or 3 if it's a band I like, but that's something I'm not really, doesn't bother me a whole lot. It just takes some of the thrill away.
Yeah, sure. Well, and I grew up in my formative years, high school, middle school, I was really more of a rap and hip hop guy. So you definitely don't get a chance to see a lot of those guys in person.
Yeah.
It's just different. So that's a little bit why haven't seen a lot of live music, not a big live music guy. But again, if my daughter ever wants to see somebody and insists I go, I'll definitely go just to see her excitement and enjoyment. She's like her mom. Her and Kelly love live music. So,
and I also don't like. I'm actually encouraged to hear that Ever likes going to concerts.
Oh yeah, she loves it.
I'm sure there will come a time when I'm gonna go back to a concert where you're seated the entire time.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. Like if I can go see a band that I like in a small venue where you're standing up and you can get close to the stage or right up on it or wherever, I like to be standing. Because when I'm sitting down, you feel like you're just you're looking around. It's like, oh, it kind of looks like we're at a restaurant waiting on a table, or we're at a graduation ceremony. Like everyone's just you just see everybody.
Church.
Yeah, it's like
nobody wants to be at. Yeah,
the band's over there. But I think, like you said, Jim, we're just getting old.
Old. Yeah. No fun. All right, Dan. Well, I got to wrap it up. I got to eat me some dinner.
All right.
You got any more questions?
Yeah, one more. When you wake up in the morning, what hurts? Or are you good?
No, my lower back for sure. And you got to be, I've learned from other friends and people that you don't just jump out of bed. You got to kind of do it slowly, and you don't want to. I can't even bend over at the sink like to wash my face. I have to kind of do it very gingerly. It just tightens up at night, I guess, and then it takes me about 20 or 30 minutes for it to loosen up. But yeah, for sure, my back hoits.
If I tossed you,
take care of your back, kids.
If I tossed you a football and I said, "All right, Jim, what you do next? It's got to be either a tight spiral for just 15 yards, maybe 20, but just got to be a tight spiral, or a tight spiral throw, or a tight spiral punt." And whatever you choose, if it's a dead duck, we're not friends anymore. What are you going for? Are you going for a punt? We're out in the backyard. We've got plenty of room, or wherever we are. Or are you going to throw the ball?
Oh, no, I'm throwing that ball. I'm throwing it. You don't even have to finish asking the question. I'm throwing it. Much better chance of a tight spiral with the throw.
All right.
No hesitation.
It's great stuff. Final question.
Right. All right.
Do you ever find yourself going number 2 and you just realize you got in the bathroom and you got to go pretty bad, and you realize you just left your phone like out in the living room or whatever, or it's still in the car, like you got home and you like hurried home so you could go to the bathroom in comfort and peace, and you sit down, you're like, oh, you're reaching in your pocket, it's not there. And so now you've got to take care of business and reflect upon your life and your decisions you've made and what tomorrow is going to look like. And did I pay that that bill? Does that ever happen where you just find yourself sitting there without any distractions and you just sit and think?
I have to read a shampoo bottle or something, or deodorant, because there's nothing else. Yeah, that's excuse me. That's happened once or twice, and it's a tough decision. But unless it's a 5-alarm fire, I'm going out to get my phone for sure. So I have something to occupy my time.
Well, I think most of us would, we probably would not be surprised to know that a lot of messages that we receive from friends and loved ones are coming directly from a seated position on the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of social media activity has been posted and has been replied to while
people are doing their business.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jim, I got more than I bargained for tonight.
That's right. You got an extra helping.
You're the first guest of 2025, episode number 80. Jim Powell, ladies and gentlemen, the Jim Hammer.
That's right. Thank you for having me, Danimal. Everybody like and subscribe and leave a wonderful comment for Dan. He does a good job on this podcast. He works hard to give y'all hours of entertainment every week. Love you, Danimal.
So glad you could be here. Thanks for listening, folks. That's it for this episode of the Dan Time Podcast. We'll see you next Sunday. Have a great